The line between your family and an empty plate is a database, and you have never once checked whether it is still standing. The card reader beeps twice. The cashier will not meet her eyes, and behind Casey, 7 people in line have gone very quiet. It is the first Friday of the month, and the money that was supposed to load at midnight is not there. She tries it again, swipe, then insert, then the cashier's quiet suggestion to try once more, as if the third attempt reaches a different computer. It does not. The balance that should say $280 says nothing at all. 42 million Americans woke up to that same nothing. This is the story of the month the food money simply stopped, told through one mother, 2 kids, and a kitchen with $11 in it. And before you decide this is fiction, one date, November 2025, a government shutdown actually did it for the first time in the program's 60-year history. 42 million cards went dark for real. This story only asks what the second month would have looked like. Casey does the math in the checkout lane, and the math says leave the cart. She lifts her daughter out of the seat, says something bright about pancakes at home, and walks past 7 pairs of eyes that all suddenly study the gum rack. In the truck, she sits for 1 minute before turning the key. You have had a version of that minute, the one where the panic has to finish before the parenting can continue. Here is what actually declined her, not a bank, a benefits database run through state processors, funded by a federal appropriation, refreshed monthly. America's largest defense against hunger is, at the machine level, a table of numbers that one missed signature can freeze. 1 in 8 Americans eats through that table, not strangers. The cashier who rang her up is on it. 2 of the 7 people in that line are on it. Grocery chains model their monthly revenue around its deposit dates. The benefit averages about $6 per person per day. Remember that number, because the whole month ahead is a war-fought $6 at a time. In November 2025, when the real shutdown hit, food banks made it about a week before the lines doubled. Formula started vanishing from shelves soon after. The system's designers had modeled fraud and bad weather. Nobody had modeled absence. This time the fix does not come in days. Say it is a court fight stacked on a funding lapse stacked on a processor failure. The mechanics do not matter to a kitchen. What matters is the phrase officials use on day 3, indefinite pause. Week 1, Casey's kitchen taken as inventory instead of a room. Half a bag of rice, 9 eggs, flour, a jar of peanut butter, the cans from the back of the shelf, and $11 until Friday's paycheck, which already belongs to the light bill. She works 28 hours a week at a nursing home for $17.50 an hour. Do that math before judging any of this. Rent takes 60%, the truck takes its share. SNAP was never extra, it was the floor. Pantry math, night 1. She does what every broke mother in history has done. Build the week backward from the cheapest calories that still count as dinner. Rice and eggs, pancakes, beans if the can count holds. $6 a day per person was the benefit. Her new budget is under 2. There is a reason every poverty cookbook in history is built on rice, beans, and flour, dense, cheap, and boring enough that nobody overeats. The first skipped meal in the house is hers. It always is. Mothers are the shock absorber of every food crisis on record. In 2025 surveys, half of parents on assistance reported eating less so the kids would not. Day 4 and the first real casualty is variety. Breakfast is pancakes, dinner is rice and eggs, and tea announces that she hates eggs now, with the full conviction of a 4-year-old. Casey laughs. Then she goes to the bathroom and does not laugh. But here is the part nobody who has never been poor understands about week 1. The hardest thing in it is not hunger. It is arithmetic that never stops running. Every price in her head all day, at work, at midnight. Poverty is a tax on attention first. Gas stays in the truck for work and nothing else, so errands get chained like a delivery route. She finds the discount outlet 2 towns over where dented cans cost 40 cents and runs the math on whether the gas eats the savings. It does not, barely, if she goes on payday. Monday is a relief for a reason she hates, school. Breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, both free, both federal, both still funded through a different pipe. For millions of kids that month, the cafeteria quietly became the most reliable restaurant in America. She learns the school also runs a backpack program, a bag of shelf food sent home on Fridays, tucked in with the homework so the other kids do not see. A teacher invented that system in Arkansas in 1995. It is in 11,000 schools now. T is 4, too young for school, home while Casey's shifts get juggled around a neighbor. Which brings this story to Miss Dot and to the oldest safety net in the world, the block you live on. Miss Dot kept chickens through 2 recessions and never once called it prepping. 6 hens, a garden bed, and a chest freezer with a whole hunting season inside it. The month the cards died, her porch became an institution. Week 2, the food bank. Casey swore she would not, and then Thursday's dinner was popcorn, and Pride turned out to weigh less than a 4-year-old. She got in line at 6:40 in the morning. The doors opened at 9. 200 people ahead of her. A month ago, this pantry served 90 families a day. The director, a retired pastor, gives the local paper the only sentence that matters. We planned for a bad month, not for the tide going out. Because food banks were never built to replace SNAP. For every meal a food bank provides in America, the program provides 9. When it stopped, the banks were asked to become 9 times themselves, in a week, on donations. The box she carries out holds what boxes hold in week 2: pasta, canned vegetables, peanut butter, a bag of pinto beans, 1 frozen chicken. She cries in the truck once briefly, then she plans 9 dinners. Watch the sequence because it is the real curve of any safety net failure. Week 1, you spend money. Week 2, you spend savings and pride. Week 3, you spend relationships. Week 4, whatever is left of all 3. Week 2 ends with a paper sign taped to the pantry door, simple and terrible, even blurred by rain. 1 box per family. Inside, the shelves that emptied first tell you the hierarchy of need: formula, diapers, peanut butter, canned meat. The stores felt it too. In the 2025 lapse, grocers in SNAP-heavy zip codes watched revenue drop within 2 weeks, double digits in some counties. The cashier who could not meet Casey's eyes had her own hours cut by Friday. The card was never only feeding the family holding it. The cruelest arithmetic was the calendars: 5 days of school meals, then 2 days of none. Sunday nights, got quiet in a way that 9-year-olds should not know how to be. On the news, the crisis has a graphic and 2 panels of suits disagreeing about whose fault it is. Casey watches 90 seconds, learns nothing that fits in a saucepan, and turns it off. Put that in the playbook early. Information you cannot cook with is noise. Here is what nobody mentions about week 3 of a food crisis. It does not look like a crisis. No lines on the news anymore. No speeches. Just quieter classrooms, fuller church basements, and a whole class of people getting very good at not being seen eating less. Week 3 starts with Miss Dot's chalkboard leaned against her mailbox, the lettering crooked. Sunday, bring a dish or bring nothing, 5 o'clock. 9 households came. The block had lived side by side for years and eaten together never. Run the numbers on a potluck because they are absurd. 9 kitchens, each cooking 1 big cheap dish, feeds 45 people for about $3 a head. The same 45 eating alone spend triple and eat worse. Scale is the oldest food technology there is. It kept happening because it solved more than dinner. The retired machinist fixed Casey's truck door for a plate of chicken. A laid-off line cook taught 4 households to stretch a whole bird into 3 meals. The block discovered it was full of unspent skills. Casey brought pancakes the first Sunday because flour was what she had and said so out loud. Nobody flinched. That sentence, "This is what I have," turned out to be the price of admission to the whole economy. By the 3rd Sunday, the potluck had rules nobody wrote down. Whoever had extra brought extra. Whoever had nothing brought chairs, and whoever asked what somebody contributed did the dishes. Casey's contribution became eggs because Miss Dot's hens outlaid her fridge, and Casey's pancakes had become currency. The block was not bartering exactly. It was remembering what neighbors were for. A farmer 4 miles out posted that his second pick apples would rot before the market price justified the labor. Gleining, the oldest welfare clause in recorded law, got reinvented on a group text. 12 families picked 400 pounds in an afternoon. Week 3 also brought the vultures, payday loan texts, a cash for title lot with fresh balloons, a stranger online selling benefit card fixes. Every food crisis grows a second economy that eats the desperate, and the rule for it is old. If it arrives smiling exactly when you are weakest, it is not help. And still, twice that week, Casey sat in the truck outside her mother's house and did not go in. Asking a stranger is embarrassing. Asking family is a referendum on your whole life. Half the hunger in any crisis lives behind that door. The food banks of 2025 reported a wave of first-timers who all said a version of the same thing. I never thought I would be here. Working households, 2 jobs, clean trucks, pride rations harder than any government. Her son broke it the way kids do, by accident. S asked why they never ate at Grandma's anymore if Grandma kept asking. There was no answer that survived being said out loud to a 9-year-old. Sunday dinner at her mother's added 1 reliable meal a week and subtracted nothing she actually lost. Write that down as the week 3 lesson. The cost of asking is a story you tell yourself. The cost of not asking is measured in your kids. The week's hardest $5 was a school field trip envelope. She paid it. Dinner was pancakes again. There's a whole economics of dignity that never shows up in any benefit formula. Kids need to be normal even more than they need dessert. Programs overlap more than people know. Wick still ran and covered tea's milk and cereal. A neighbor's teenager printed out what counted at which store. Half of surviving a bureaucratic failure is learning which bureaucracies are still alive. Day 23, the freezer holds the last food bank chicken. The flour is on its second to last cup, and Casey has stopped flinching at the mailbox. Something in her has gone calm and flat and competent, like the night staff at the home during a code. But here is the thing about week 4 that nobody warns you about. The fix, when it finally comes, arrives the same way the failure did, silently. No siren announces that a database is breathing again. Week 4, day 26. Casey is back at the same register buying exactly $11 of flour, eggs, and beans, counted to the dime, when the news moves down the line the way weather does, murmured shopper to shopper. The cards are back. The balance loads, 2 months, retroactive. She stands in the aisle reading it twice, and the feeling is not what she expected. Not relief exactly. More like the feeling after a fever, grateful and permanently informed. She fills the cart she abandoned a month ago, almost item for item. Then she stops in the canned goods aisle and adds a second row of everything shelf-stable. The cart costs more than it would have in week 0. It buys something the first cart never did. That is the sentence this whole story exists to hand you. The system came back, and she never went back. Not to the version of herself that had 4 days of food and total faith in a database. So here is the Quiet Playbook, assembled from Casey's month and priced for real paychecks. It starts with $40 because that is what it actually costs to make a kitchen 4 weeks deep instead of 4 days. The list from any discount store: 20 pounds of rice, 10 of beans, 5 of oats, flour, oil, peanut butter, salt, a flat of canned vegetables. Under $40, roughly 200 plain meals. Nobody photographs it for the internet. It is the difference between week 1 and week 4. Rotate it through your normal cooking so nothing expires and nothing feels like doom. The old name for this is a deep pantry. Your great-grandmother did not call it prepping, she called it a kitchen. Second, know your pipes before you need them, which schools feed, which churches host, where the pantry is when its doors open, whether your county runs summer meal sites. 15 minutes of learning while you are fine buys back a week of scrambling when you are not. Third, the block. You do not need a commune. You need 6 households that know each other's faces and 1 missed dot with a chalkboard. Start it with food while food is cheap. A potluck in good times is insurance you can eat. Fourth, skills are groceries. A bag of flour is 8 loaves if you can bake and 1 paste if you cannot. Learn the poverty meals now on a full stomach: beans and rice that taste good, a whole chicken into 3 dinners, bread, soup from bones, pancakes that pass as dinner. Fifth, cash, small and boring. A 20 into an envelope every payday and you never touch it. Casey's $11 was the loneliest number of her month. 60 in an envelope would have rewritten week 1 entirely. And the one that costs nothing, decide now in advance that you will ask. Say it out loud so it becomes a plan instead of a defeat. The line at the pantry is not a verdict on your life, it is a bus stop. Everyone standing in it is going somewhere else. If you have kids, hand them a job instead of a silence. S counted the pantry cans every Sunday and called out what ran low. Kids can smell fear, but they metabolize purpose. The month scared him less than it taught him. Now the uncomfortable part, said plainly and without a villain. 42 million people depend on a single federal data pipeline that had never missed a month in 60 years, and so nobody anywhere had a real plan for the month it missed. That is not a left problem or a right problem. It is an engineering problem. Ask the question engineers ask about every system your family stands on. What is the single point of failure and what is my redundancy? For food in most American households, the honest answers are a database and nothing. The 2025 lapse ended within weeks and Congress papered over the whole. The database is running tonight. It will probably run next month. Probably is doing a lot of work in that sentence, and now you know exactly what probably feels like from inside a checkout lane. Casey still shops on the first Friday of the month, but now the card is the top layer, not the floor. Under it, a deep shelf, a block that still eats together once a month, a mother she visits without needing an occasion, and an envelope nobody touches. And when a card reader beeps twice at somebody ahead of her in line, she does not study the gum rack. She pays for the milk, quietly, because the month taught her the one economy that never crashed, people who have been there paying it sideways. Casey is invented. The database that failed for real in November of 2025 is not. 42 million cards, $6 a day, one database. It failed once for real in November 2025 and the country mostly forgot by spring. Casey did not stock the shelf, learn the meals, meet the block, keep the envelope. The card in your wallet is a promise. The pantry behind you is a fact.